most certainly at Look Up TV. There's just a lot that we're going to talk about this morning, much more, including what is going around the country. As of this morning, we do know that the president is at Nakuru County this morning as we speak, but there's just a lot, again, that we have to talk about this morning. Let me begin with the weather update this morning. Majority of Kenyans have been treated with a change in weather again. If you are in Lavington this morning, where our studios are based, and that is actually for the entirety of Nairobi this morning, and I keep on saying Nairobi, so we're not talking about guys who are in Machakos and Kitengela and Isinya. You guys are not in Nairobi, yeah? So if I'm going to just give you a snapshot of where we are this morning, it's not looking good. The highs today are going to go all the way to 21, and that's it. The lows are 15. Tomorrow as well, the highs are going to be 22, the lows are going to be 15. So look and see if we're back again to July. I mean, if you count the number of months we've enjoyed sunshine this year, it will be like, what, 3? Yeah, because we started the year when it was quite cold. You know, we thought we were out of it. We're back a couple of weeks in September. We enjoyed the sunshine, and now we're back to the cold months again. And we do expect that this rainfall is going to go all the way up to this weekend as well, because actually up to November, I do have that snapshot. The biggest temperature difference that I see here is on November 7th. That's next month, where our highs are just going to be around 24, but again, lows all the way up to 14. So cold months incoming. I was reading what the weatherman was also talking about, is saying that we do expect that these rains are going to continue all the way to mid-November, early December. Oof. Cold, cold, cold days indeed. All right? So don't make mistakes like some of my colleagues have made this morning, walking into the studio without dressing warm. Looks as if the months for carrying an umbrella and walking around in boots are back on, because I can see some of them freezing this morning in t-shirts. Oof, that's how bad it is. So new. All right, so here's the thing. A lot of things that we're going to talk about this morning. Let me start the show with a quote by Kenyan Member of Parliament, who's saying that he's going to sponsor a bill to regulate influencers. They must have degrees to talk about professional topics. Yeah? That is a Member of Parliament, Zahir. And this one is saying, I'm going to sponsor a bill to regulate influencers. They must have degrees to talk about professional topics. We cannot have a country where everyone is an expert. That's what he's saying. And this was yesterday. That is Zahir Janda. What do you think? Should this pass? Yeah. Jaloka this morning was saying, well, laws are being debated and passed by members of parliament who can hardly read any word without passing their fingers beneath each letter. Ironic. That's not our conversation this morning. For us, our conversation this morning touches on another area that touches, or that really talks about how Cabinet Secretaries should be conducting themselves at a time when it feels as if the entire country has gone back to the campaigner trail for 2027 electoral positions. All right? Now, I'll give you a couple of examples. Energy CS, Opiyo Wandayi, was accused of endorsing Ruto and speaking on ODM succession during Raila Odinga's funeral in Bondo. Cooperative CS Wycliffe Opabanya admitted on TV to being an ODM member while serving in government. Health CS Adana Duale is also accused in the petition of making politically charged attacks. I'll be telling you what petition that is, and we'll be talking about it this morning. Inspector General Douglas Kanja is cited for appearing at a presidential rally in Kieni, making remarks suggestive of partisan support. All right? Now, this is LSK. We're now petitioning the CSs to be barred from being in political conversations, and the petitioners invoke constitutional provisions and leadership ethics that are pushing to suspend or nullify legal sections that allow political activity by sitting cabinet secretaries. All right. Now, what are some of the key constitutional and legal provisions around it? Now, Article 75 of the Constitution of Kenya creates the general principle that state officers must avoid conflicts of interest and not abuse their office for personal or partisan gain. That's some of the areas that we're going to talk about this morning, going all the way to the legal anchors that give so this going all the way to what the petition relies on. This is the petition by LSK on Article 2, 4 of the Kenyan Constitution, which declares laws inconsistent with the Constitution void. Now, the claim is that Section 25 is unconstitutional for permitting partisan activity, right? Is exactly what I want to talk about this morning on a deeper basis. I'll be introducing the guests who will be joining us this morning to look into this issue. The question we're asking this morning, therefore, is the CSs on the campaign trail, should they lose their jobs? You can also get to weigh in on this matter and Look Up TV across all your social media platforms. The hashtag is the Morning Drift. Did I say my name this morning? My name is Simbalaja Charles Kiage, and you're watching Look Up TV. That's what it is, isn't it? Let's then jump into our dailies this morning, see what it is that you're waking up to this morning. I've seen a snapshot when I was coming to work this morning. We're going to start with the Daily Nation, all right, where Samia eyes history as Tanzania votes. That's the biggest headline that we have here. More than 37 million Tanzanians head to the polls today in a contest that President Samia Hassan Suluhu is widely expected to emerge victorious. While the election is historic, Tanzania could formally elect its first female president. It's also clouded by competing narratives, especially regarding the fairness of the campaign, detention of the opposition leader, Tundu Lissu, and the integrity of the electoral process. So it's a beautiful position to be, yeah, when you're going to an election where every other person in your country expects that you are going to emerge victorious. Nobody can ever complain to be in such a position, isn't it? Yeah, we'll be casting our eyes on the election process in Tanzania. That story has been covered on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation. And this is President who's defending seat she inherited from John Pombe Magufuli, who we know passed on in a 2021. All right. There's a story here on page 2 on how EACC recovers 2.8 billion Karura land allocated to JJ Kamodo. That story has been covered on page 2. And members are questioning Ruto's of 1.5 trillion infrastructure fund plan. That story has been covered on page 6. The president has been talking about these issues, and we did see him talk about the plans that they have for the Nakuru Nairobi highway, promising residents who live around those areas, use that particular route, that road is going to be the best that has been seen in the country. Good. And that's the story that has been questioned here. There's also the Mount Summit road that has been officially announced that is going to start as well. And this is exactly what members of parliament are now questioning the president over. That story has been covered on page 6. Story here on Raila Odinga's the Brits problem at Odinga's grave. Now, more than a week after his burial on October 19th, visitors are still laying the Brits on Raila's grave, forming a tiny hill of beautiful flowers that cost thousands of shillings and forcing workers to clear them every 2 days. You will say it's a good problem to have, isn't it? That story has been covered here on page 7. That's the story around the passing of Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga. Right now, freed Catholic nun now turns state witness in colleague's murder case. Now, Catholic nun Caroline Kanjiru, who has been in police custody following the killing of a colleague, Anselemia Kareme, will now be a state witness. That story has been covered on page 3. But there's a story here of a plane that was involved in an accident yesterday, and it's about a trip to Masai Mara luxury camp that ended in tragedy for tourists and pilot. Yeah, on page 12, every day the aircraft leaves Diani Airport in Kwale County from Boseli and Masai Mara National Parks, ferrying tourists eager to experience the beach and bush in Kenya's luxury destinations. And the flights usually takes less than 2 hours, landing at airstrips located near safari camps and lodges. Yesterday, a pilot and his 10 passengers left Diani a few minutes after 8 a.m., leading to Kichwa Tembo Camp in Masai Mara. However, the plane, or the planned getaway for 8 Hungarians and 2 German nationals was tragically cut short. All of them in that craft lost their lives. May their souls rest in peace. It's the hit to the tourism industry in the country. You do not want this kind of headlines when we do know that indeed tourism is one of the top earners in our GDP contribution. Yeah. Let's cross over to the standards, see exactly what we have this morning as well on this. It's a polarizing headline, this, and they're saying Samia versus Suluhu. If I don't have to explain that headline, do I? If I explain it to you, then it won't make sense this morning. I don't have to explain this headline, do I? Samia versus Suluhu. Okay, I gotta explain because that's my work as a journalist. Do I have to explain? Is there a way that you could send us a message into the studio and tell us that you don't understand this headline? If you don't understand it, then we can explain. Okay, let me explain. Samia Hassan Suluhu versus Samia Hassan Suluhu. That's pretty much what it means. And this is what they're saying. Opposition members have been edged out of Tanzania's vote, turning it into a one-horse race. The democratic ideals Mwalimu Julius Nyerere once championed now seem buried under a tightening grip of autocratic control. As Tanzanians head to the polls today, the air across Arusha, Dar es Salaam, and Moshi is thick with an uneasy calm, a nation voting under the shadow of fear, silence, and inevitability. Oof. Yeah, that's quite a pointing headline right there from the Standard this morning. And by the way, it's the same headline that the Daily Nation has also given the front line. And you can see they're adorned in that military regalia. Is a woman who's ready for the fight. And that's what the Standard this morning is talking about. Samia versus Suluhu. What do you think? See a couple of comments here on this particular headline. Also much, yeah. This brand was saying Samia inspired the people. Suluhu secured the seat. 2 different seasons, same name. When you fight competitors, then ensure there are none left. That's not leadership. It is consolidation of control. And this is coming from the fact that we do know that the biggest opposition leader, that is that was supposed to be in this election, they have been pushed to the periphery. It's taking control, isn't it? All right. It's part of what we're going to mention about this morning when we start our conversations. Let me then take you online, see exactly what it is that Kenyans are talking about. And it's a good thing that it's not the weekend, because then Man United would have been trending and would be forced to talk about it this morning, which is not something that we do here on this show. Thank you very much. Yeah. All right. So this morning we do have a lot of topics that are trending, and one of those that trending is the Cybercrime Amendment Act, all right? That is essentially then looking at how it's protecting you from hidden and digital dangers, all right? In entirety, it's not just about silencing, it's about safeguarding. It is one that essentially looks at both ends, but the one that we know has got majority of that conversation is the one that looks at, talking about your conduct as somebody who's using a digital platform in the country. And that's what Kenyans are talking about this morning. Let me then read a couple of responses from Kenyans this morning. This is Victor who's saying the new law ensures there is no online harassment, no harmful content that causes severe psychological harm or could lead to harmful decisions like suicide. That's exactly what he's talking about this morning. We go down and look at some of the contributions. We do know that LSK is already in court to challenge the Cybercrime Amendment Act. Meanwhile, Ruto continues to drum support for the bill across the country, and we do know that indeed a court did stop that implementation of this particular act temporarily, as the petitions are already gone to court mid-time to be listened to and implemented. So let's look at what Samuel Ekesa is talking about this morning, that through the Cybercrimes Amendment Act, the government aims to protect Kenyans online and address the complex realities of modern cyber threats. It seeks to equip law enforcement with tools needed to respond effectively, that's what they're saying this morning, to online crimes, ensuring that justice keeps pace with technology. The law is carefully designed to protect citizens without curtailing their freedom of speech or digital creativity. That's what they're saying. Then last on this as well, let me just read this comment by Lee, who's saying the Cybercrimes Amendment Act champions digital responsibility. That's it. Yeah. Good. This morning as well, I see a lot of trends. Tanzania is trending. Again, let's see exactly what Kenyans are talking about Tanzania, and we do know why. It's the 29th of October. Tanzanians today are going to vote, 37 million of them that are registered then to register to vote. And snapshot, the entire story really of Tanzania this morning is that Samia Hassan Suluhu doesn't face any credible challenger for that position. All right, now Tanzanians are voting on October 2025 in a presidential election where President Samia Suluhu Hassan faces no credible challengers. This is what you gotta know. Electoral Commission disqualified opposition candidates from Chadema and arrested key figures like Tundu Lissu. Chadema has called the process a coup against democracy and urged a boycott, while Human Rights Watch reports over 200 opposition arrests since July. Ooh, that's a lot. Now, the election highlights concerns over democratic backsliding with regional media, right? Like what we've seen this morning, like the Standard mocking the race as Samia versus Suluhu in the viral headline. Yeah, we'll not talk about that. That's exactly what Kenyans, or what is trending across the country. There are also allegations of protests erupting in Tanzania ahead of today's nationwide election exercise. That's what this is about. Let me read just a couple of issues here. This is Hussein Khalid who's saying in Tanzania today, it's not only opposition politicians who are being kidnapped, all right, disappeared and killed. They're doing the same to teachers, religious leaders, activists, youth leaders, ambassadors, lawyers, entertainers, poets, and also common citizens. That is Hussein Khalid who's talking about this. There's Nairobi Times that is talking about this morning. A CCM member quits the party to join the people of Tanzania in opposing the current regime led by Samia Suluhu Hassan this morning. That's it. The last one we have is some Kenyans who are chanting the names of Tundu Lissu in Kenya. All right, talking about promoting democracy in Africa, and that's some of the trends that we're seeing on this one, on Tanzania. But we do wish you the very, very best, Tanzanians, as you go out today to make that decision. I mean, we can't, it's not okay to talk about the democracy of an independent state. The only thing that we do is that we wish that your election today are going to be peaceful as you make that decision to elect your next president and a couple of leaders as well that are supposed to represent you for the next couple of years. We wish you the very best as you then go in to make those decisions this morning. Make sure that it's peaceful and it's everything that you are wishing for in terms of running your country, because it's very, very important for the peace of Tanzania, which essentially then will come to affect the peace of the region as well, because EAC is one region in general. Good, that's exactly what it is that you are waking up to this morning in terms of your major trends. But let me just then remind you of the topic that we're going to have this morning. It is about CSs who are on the campaign trail across the country. And this is where we are. That Article 232 requires the public officers exercise their functions impartially and without favor. And the Leadership and Integrity Act of 2012 also prohibits officers from engaging in partisan political activity that conflicts with their roles. And also the Conflict of Interest Act of 2025 is also referenced in the petition that was filed by LSK, that the petitioners challenge Section 25, which purportedly allows Cabinet Secretaries and CEs to engage in some political activities. Good. And that's exactly what it is that we're going to talk about this morning. And some of the questions that we are going to put across are the ones that I want you to start getting in right now in our studio at Lookup TV across all your social media platforms. We take a tiny breather. Once we come back, then we will tackle this conversation right here on The Morning Drift. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kaya. Once we come back, then I'll be introducing to you the guests who are joining us this morning to have this conversation around this area. The question being, campaigning CSs, should they lose their jobs? Right here on The Morning Drift. Good morning. I'll see you on the other side of the break.
Taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Lookup, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali, kwenye bunge, tunajitosa hadi kwenye sauti ya wenyeji ili kupata tu maoni ya wenyeji kuhusu masuala haya yanayochipuka.
Maana hii kitu inaenda kuumiza Mkenya kwa tax.
Hakuna kitu tunafurahia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sisi tunaumia, si ati tunaumia ile ya kiukweli. Juu maisha ni ngumu.
Na bila shaka tunapata maoni yao ili sauti yao ipate kusikika. Na watasema hili, waseme lile, watasema hiki na waseme kile, almuradi sauti yao ipate taa.
Mambo ya mafuta tena imekuwa ni changamoto zaidi kwa kila mtu, wa bodaboda.
Uchumi ikikuwa stable, tunaamini mambo itakuwa sawa sawa.
Kwanza liko na ria wasa wa boda, mama mboga nini. Hawa sasa ndio wamefinywa zaidi mali.
Mtazamaji, hii ni bunge la wenyeji.
People are there to belittle you. When people are questioning you,
if you don't move fast, of course, yes, you lose it, but then it's not us to push you.
But you do not know the God who has been molding me. What has he been doing to me?
The deep and mature conversations of empowerment for you with a curious mind and an appetite for oriented conversations.
I concur with what you're saying. You plan your finances, you can easily live without a debt.
An engaging safe space of free expression and truthfulness with an upheld vibrance, motivation and happiness.
So many children who are there, they are not living their dreams.
Join us for deep conversations with Zipporah Gashushe every Saturday from 8 p.m. The Deeper Conversations on Look Up TV.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Drips. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. There's a lot that we're going to talk about on our topic this morning, because indeed, even as Tanzania gets ready to go to the polls as of today, we do know that the country, whether you like it or not, in whatever way that you want to put it, has already gotten into the campaign mode as well as we look into the 2027 general elections in the country as well. So conversations around how our members of parliament, our CSs are conducting themselves indeed are to the fore as we speak now. Now, our topic this morning essentially comes from a petition that has been launched by the Law Society of Kenya that is going to bar CSs from being on the campaigns across the country. They're pointing to various articles in the Kenyan Constitution that we're going to look at this morning. And indeed, in that petition, there are a couple of leaders who've been mentioned in it, which, as they say, gives that petition weight this morning. Before I introduce then the guests who are going to join us this morning, let me just highlight part of what the LSK is talking about this morning. Number one, they've already indicated that Energy CS Opiyo Wandayi is accused of endorsing President Dr. William Ruto and speaking on ODM succession during Raila Amolo Odinga's funeral in Bondo. That petition also has got cooperative CS Wycliffe Oparanya, who admitted on TV to being an ODM member while serving in government. Health CS Aden Duale is also mentioned in this petition of making politically charged attacks on opposition figures. There's also Inspector General Douglas Kanja, who was cited for appearing at a presidential rally in Kieni, making remarks suggestive of a partisan support, according to this particular petition. It doesn't stop there then. Let's have a background of the articles that are barring or that are clear on how the cabinet secretaries in the country should be conducting themselves. I'll go back again and give you that. Article 75 of the Constitution of Kenya creates the general principle that state officers must avoid conflict of interest and not abuse their office for personal or partisan gain. That is Article 75. They also continue, Article 232 also requires that public officers exercise their functions impartially and without favor. There's also the Leadership and Integrity Act of 2012 that prohibits public officers from engaging in partisan political activity that conflicts with their roles. There's also the Conflict of Interest Act 2025 that is also referenced in the petition. Now, the petitioners are challenging Section 25 of that act. This one, the act says, 25, that indeed CSs in the country can participate in some politics. And then they say, when it comes to the application of the law, that can be overlooked. And that's exactly what we are here then to talk about this morning. And that question that we did ask you online is indeed if this can also be part of what can make or break the jobs of the current CSs in government. Good. And this morning then we are going to be joined by one Ruth Bowler. Gotta make a case for her this morning, and I know she's on the way. South Sea residents this morning, we have news that you woke up to floods this morning, and Ruth Bowler was among the victims of the floods that happened in Nairobi this morning as a result of the heavy rainfall that was witnessed in the city. TWG member Ruth Bowler, Manifesto Yetu Consortium, is on the way, and if she makes it to the studio, then we shall be happy to host her this morning. We wish her a quick journey to the studio, but already in the studio we do have Dr. Isaac Hassan, PhD, leadership and governance expert. Dr. Hassan, how are you doing, sir?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
Fantastic. Welcome to Look Up TV.
Pleasure.
Let me start you on this topic. We're approaching 2027, and indeed, even after the passing of Raila Amolo Odinga, there was this shift in the country where everybody, CSs included, sort of started weighing on where the country was politically. That had LSK up in arms, and they said, we don't understand exactly what's going on in the country. We are seeing major cabinet secretaries going around the country on a campaign trail, and some of them have stepped out outright to go out and do politics. They're therefore saying, according to the Kenyan Constitution, this shouldn't be allowed, and they're now asking the courts in the country to bar any CS from joining in active politics in the country. Where do you stand, Dr. Hassan?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. I think LSK's move in regards to the so-called the current activities by public officers in regards to political campaigns is long overdue. It's not something that is very new. From the onset of election in 2022, campaigns began, and every cabinet secretary and every public officer who is directly engaged in issues related to the leadership of that particular county or the national government have been beating the drums for their superiors. You'll see those ones who are campaigning for the governors, CECs campaigning for the governors. You'll see cabinet secretaries equally, or permanent secretaries campaigning for the president. So this is not a new thing. Politics of Kenya is so unique to the extent that we always suspend our constitution. What the constitution demands is not what we usually do. We become loyal to our masters, and therefore we do always what the masters want, and that is the politics of Kenya. And therefore, I do not think if it's a new thing that they are picking up, and I don't think if they will make any significant change. However, the constitution is very clear. In 2010, cabinet secretaries who were previously under the political parties, I mean, a member of parliament used to be appointed as cabinet secretaries, have been moved into an usual public servant, and therefore the Constitution does not allow any politician to become a cabinet secretary. So when you become a cabinet secretary, then you are a public officer who is not supposed to be engaged in politics, not holding any office in regards to political party offices,
yes,
or even, as they say now, be involved in rallies of political parties or where the political campaigns are going on. So what we are trying to see currently is when the president does his development tours, you may find cabinet secretaries in that rally. And ideally, their main role is to make sure that the president speaks to the people on the developmental agenda that respective state departments are implementing. And therefore, they are there actually to advise the president in order for him to give out information that is already planned within the state department, so that the president is able to tell the public that this is what we are doing under this state department, and the CS responsible and the permanent secretary or the principal secretary responsible is here, and therefore they are tasked to make sure that they deliver this service in order for the public to benefit from the services of the government. That is not the case. You see, when a cabinet secretary is given the microphone, the first thing that the cabinet secretary will talk about is the president has done for us this. The president will deliver these services for us. These services or this implementation of services to the community does not come from the president.
Yes.
These are planned projects that come from the resources that the government has already mobilized.
Yes.
And therefore it is the government's responsibility, and the president per se does not implement those things. They are supposed to be announced if he wishes so, because its purposes of announcing in public rallies is to gear towards ensuring that the government is doing something, and you are giving feedback to the public, which is okay, we have no problem with that. But when the cabinet secretary talks about the president has done for us this, he will also going to do for us this, we must also vote in or bring back this government, we love the president. These are not the jobs that is meant for any public service officers,
yes,
including the cabinet secretaries.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that is how our politics is crafted, that's how our politics is designed, and that's how our government works. And nobody actually puts into consideration other legalities or illegalities that are involved in such conversation. So when LSK is coming out and going to court, I don't think if they are going to come up with a new thing. These things are already there, they are in the law. And if a cabinet secretary is involved in politics, he has two options. One, either to be removed out of the office through impeachment, where we call it a parliamentary process.
That's it.
Because parliamentarians represent the public. Or he resigns himself and move on and give or pave way for a public servant who indeed wants to work for the public service other than engaging himself in politics.
Yes.
Therefore, going to court and of course getting some advisory in regards to how the constitution should be translated or what exactly one should have in terms of engaging himself in politics, or at what level of engagement can a cabinet secretary talk about politics.
Yes.
Therefore, I think there are quite a number of things that surrounds what is going on at the moment. And therefore the cabinet secretaries, like any other public service officers, are not supposed to be engaged in any political activities
yes.
or campaigns
yes.
As per our constitution. And the constitution that guides us is the 2010 constitution that Kenyans voted for. And it was inaugurated in 2010. Therefore, we must respect it. But as I earlier mentioned, respect for constitution in Kenya is not there, including the executive, who is the watchdog of the constitution. They rarely do that, including parliamentarians, who are indeed the main lawmakers in this country.
Yes.
Therefore, if parliamentarians see that the law that they have made is being broken by the executive, and they go dine with them, then I don't think whether we are heading anywhere. And I don't think if judiciary can do anything much
yes.
in reference to taming public officers from political campaigns.
That's it. Dr. Hassan, the couple of things that we got to look here, and the critics of this new petition by LSK say, but hold on, the Constitution also allows Cabinet Secretaries in the country to do some politics. And this is what it says. If you look at the Act, this Act, Conflict of Interest Act 2025, Section 2025, this is what it says. It allows Cabinet Secretaries and CECs to engage in some political activities. Now, you and I mean, we got to qualify this morning. Is that a problem in our Constitution, where you're saying that you can't actually sit here, Dr. Hassan, and tell a Cabinet Secretary that in no way whatsoever would you engage in a political activity? But at the same time we're fighting them, they are protected by the same Constitution that is barring them from taking part in political activities. Case in point then, you and I are going to look at a couple of statements that have been put in this petition. Let me pick the first one, which is CS, or PO&I. It stood up during the burial of the late Raila Amolo Odinga, and this is what he said. He endorsed President Dr. William Ruto and spoke on ODM succession during that funeral. Within those 3 minutes that he stood up, the only thing that Opio and I spoke about is that we're in this government all the way to 2032, and we want President Dr. William Ruto to lead this country and the party into 2032. How would you qualify that? Is that some politics, Dr. Hassan?
I think first and foremost, the event determines the status of the gathering.
Yes.
I mean, you must also define when do we call a political rally a political gathering. I think the burial of the late Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga was a national event that Kenyans were mourning, and every person who went there went on their individual capacity.
Yes.
Because burials are not state functions. The burial was conducted as a state event in honor of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, but the process of that event was not geared towards a theme, or rather a political theme. Therefore, anyone who speaks there speaks as an individual, opinion.
At what time you stop being a CS?
Actually, when you go for that gathering,
yes,
and you are called as a Muna, I mean, you speak as a leader, you speak, but you don't speak as a politician at that particular time. So, from my perspective, what I think is that a gathering like that, or an event like that, will not push someone to be defined as breaching the Constitution in regards to his responsibility as a state officer. Why am I saying that? Others might speak what their mind. What they are speaking is irrelevant sometimes. I mean, talking about support of 2027 for President William Samoei Ruto in a burial, in a state burial for the late Raila Amolo Odinga, is out of place. I mean, why should someone talk about issues of 2027? We are mourning and we are burying our hero. So, in essence, I think something was not adding up. And that's why, although in the mainstream media, we like picking specific interesting opinions that are given by respective leaders, I think the theme of that particular event was geared towards burial. And therefore, I don't define that probably as being a political gathering. Yes. Because when we define political gathering or political campaigns is one, we must have a clear theme of the event. Two, the colors of that political party must be visible in that particular place. Three, there must be either a campaign for a specific candidate for a specific position, like now the current by-elections rallies, or there must be a general national campaigns where the government or rather the national elections are taking place. Therefore, I think sometimes we look at things very keenly.
Yes.
We oversee things that we don't see and we read between the lines.
Yes.
In a function like that one, or even a function that where the president is going for national events where development issues are being discussed in the counties, and the president visits certain county with no any other political rally, and the public has come out because they want to hear their president what he has for them or what he has to tell them. I don't think that is a proper definition of a political campaign.
And this is what they're saying, that was a state function, that it was clearly defined as a state function. So when you see a state official speak, they are speaking as representing the state, Dr. San, and that's what it is.
That could be defined. That could be a definition in terms of when we say it's a state function. But what is a state function actually? No, a state burial is not a state function. A state function is like the national, days.
Yes.
Like Mashujaa days.
Yes.
State functions is when the president has organized, a function that is intended for all the public to hear, and the conversations around that gathering should be geared towards the national unity or national development.
Yes.
But now, this was a state function in honor of the late Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga's burial, and it was actually in the burial, and therefore everyone who went there has gone for a burial. For example, let me ask you, if we go to a community burial, you leave your house as a chief, for example, you are a chief or you are one of the government official, and you go for the burial there, you have gone into that burial as a Muna first, and that's why every person who speaks on behalf during that burial, he speaks on behalf of himself and his family, and he does not go there, says, I speak on behalf of the state.
Yes.
And that's why we say the whole responsibility or role completely changes. But again, in the complexity of our political arenas, I mean, that could also be defined as a political campaign. But I think if we don't look at it so into what people say, I always like defining the platform first. The platform must speak for itself first.
Yes.
And therefore, that specific platform was intended for the send-off of the late Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. And therefore, I do not see any political function that one should talk about. In any case, you know, for me, I'm a Muslim, and we are not allowed to talk about other things when you come for burials.
That's it.
And naturally, it's common in every African setup as well. For sure, I know very well. It's only that our politicians have turned burials events into campaign platforms. And therefore, these are things that we have created ourselves. It's not within the periphery of our cultures, or it's not even humane for any individual to go and talk about politics when people are mourning, when the families are mourning. So I think I'll, in principle, take the events as a state burial in honor of Raila Amolo Odinga,
yes,
and any other thing outside that event that people converse is irrelevant for that particular purpose. And therefore, Opiyo Wandayi's loyalty towards the president and affirmation that they will going to be backing him until 2034, that was just someone who was trying to look for relevance in a platform that was irrelevant to that conversation.
Yes, pretty much. Dr. Hassan, there are a couple of statements that we're going to look at as well. I want us to take a tiny breather, because that's where now it begins. Because we don't have the cooperative CS, that is Wycliffe Oparanya, went live on TV and actually declared that I am an ODM member and I'll be forever be an ODM member, even as we speak right now. I am an ODM member. So when we have these statements coming from the CSs, the question that we're going to be putting to you is, if you are the president and you're the one who appointed this gentleman to that particular position, then he goes on air and declares that I'm still a member of the ODM party, and now there is a petition that is seeking his removal just because of this sentiment. What should be your next step as a president in that particular position? Now, because now this is a man who's seated in office, speaking while in office, speaking while doing his duties as a CS to that particular position that you appointed him to see through. Once we come back, then we're going to look at a couple of issues as well. Also, one health CS, Adam Duale, is also accused in the petition of making politically charged attacks on opposition figures. And also, Inspector General Douglas Kanja is also cited for appearing at a presidential rally in Kieni, making remarks suggestive of partisan support. Dr. Hassan has made a case and said, well, during the burial of one Raila Amolo Odinga, every other person was speaking for their self. Regardless of whether that was a state function or not, do you agree? Also send in your comments and Look Up TV across all your social media platforms. Once we come back, we'll be reading some of those that you've shared and also get to talk about these other sentiments that have been put forward by other CSs in the country right here at Look Up TV. I'll see you on the other side of the break.
People are there to belittle you. When people are questioning you,
if you don't move fast, of course, yes, you lose it, but then it's not us to push you.
But you do not know the God who has been molding me. What has he been doing to me?
The deep and mature conversations of empowerment for you with a curious mind and an appetite for oriented conversations.
I concur with what you're saying. You plan your finances, you can easily live without a debt.
An engaging safe space of free expression and truthfulness with an upheld vibrance, motivation and happiness.
So many children who are there, they are not living their dreams.
Join us for deep conversations with Zipporah Gashushe every Saturday from 8 p.m. The Deeper Conversations on Look Up TV.
Taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Look Up, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali, kwenye bunge, tunajitosa hadi kwenye sauti ya wenyeji ili kupata tu maoni ya wenyeji kuhusu masuala haya yanayochipuka.
Maana hii kitu inaenda kuumiza Mkenya kwa tax.
Hakuna kitu tunafurahia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sisi tunaumia, si ati tunaumia ile ya kiukweli. Juu maisha ni ngumu.
na bila shaka tunapata maoni yao ili sauti yao ipate kusikika, na watasema hili waseme lile, watasema hiki na waseme kile, almuradi sauti yao ipate taa.
Mambo ya mafuta tena imekuwa ni changamoto zaidi kwa kila mtu wa bodaboda.
Uchumi ikikuwa stable, tunaamini mambo itakuwa sawa sawa.
Kwanza liko na ria wa boda, mama mboga nini. Hao sasa ndio wamefinywa zaidi man.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni bunge la wenyeji.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
Welcome back to Look Up TV. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiagen. Let me just read a couple of those sentiments that have come in this morning just before we continue with Dr. Hassan this morning then. I've got Sibor. Sibor, good morning, sir. We'll meet on Monday. Good. Thank you very much. Sibor is a doctor at the University of Nairobi, and he normally comes here for these conversations, and is gunning for the member parliament seat in the Kibra constituency in 2027. And this is what he's saying this morning. Tell Dr. Hassan I disagree with him. The statements by Opiyo Wandayi were made in a state function. A public holiday was declared, and in his introduction, the MC said Cabinet Secretary Opiyo Wandayi. So he was speaking as a CS, not as an individual. That's what he said this morning.
Yeah, I mean, he has his opinion. Of course, his opinion is that he defines the event as a full representation of the Cabinet Secretary's opinion.
Yes.
As a representative of the office he holds. That could be possible. I said earlier on, I mean, we could define things differently. I have mentioned issues related to our cultures. I've mentioned issues related to the event versus the state event.
Yes.
So a public holiday, it doesn't matter. We know why public holiday was issued, because there was a stampede when the body of the late Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga was flown from India to JKIA, and Nairobi was at a standstill. Therefore, the government felt it is necessary, when we are sending him off, particularly someone who is known very well, someone who is liked by his people in Kisumu or Luo Nyanza, to expect such a stampede. So I think the public holiday was geared towards enhancing security. It has nothing to do with being a national event. A national event is gazetted and it's in our constitution. These are events that we already know. They are determined by our constitution, not considerations within the process by the Cabinet Secretary for Interior,
yes,
which this was as a result of the reasons, basically as a result of why this holiday was declared. So you could define it as a national event, but I tend to disagree with Dr. there.
Yes.
That let's not mirror everything very thinly. It will going to come. I'm not saying that cabinet secretaries are not engaged in politics. As I earlier mentioned, when they stood up in even a presidential event and they start praising the president, that's a political activities that they are engaging in themselves,
yes,
simply because they are the machinery of the executive to deliver services that is committed by the president to the public. And therefore, if that is their responsibility, they only need to receive from the president, say, Your Excellency, as per your directives, this is what so far we have done. This is where we are with the remaining projects. These are the plans we have for the ones which have not commenced. And this is the expected timeline of completing this. The president will be very happy to tell the public that his people are working very well, and these are the timelines according to the people, the real people who do the job. The president doesn't do the job. He only directs where necessary. And in much of his directives, unless it is emergency, is a planned, what is called the master plan of the government projects. It is within that master plan where budgets are allocated within at that particular time. And the people who allocate budgets are the parliamentarians after the budget are proposed by the executive. Therefore, I think politics is part of our executive. It looks like that. And that's why I said earlier on when I was beginning my conversation, I mentioned that from the onset of the elections, when the cabinets came into office, we have started our campaigns. So there are a lot of elements of campaigns that our public officers, particularly the CSS and the PSS and other public officers I mentioned in the counties are involved, yes, which is not right, and the law does not allow them to do so. But what do we have at hand? If this happens, then we don't need to shout and make unnecessary claims or what do we call, start crying over what someone has done. No, the action is those officers have, the Constitution dictates the way they are supposed to be removed out of the office. So the CSS, instead of going to court, engage parliamentarians, and if it is going to the streets, go to streets to make sure that parliamentarians do their job and impeach these kind of cabinet secretaries out of office so that we do not have cabinet secretaries engaged in politics. Secondly, them themselves have all the right to say, I want to be in politics, and therefore this executive role does not match my interest. Therefore, they move out, they resign out of the office. So there are avenues that are visible for these particular cases where you see public officers involved in politics. Yes. Of course, issues of accountability, issues of integrity, issues of impartiality, all these are surrounding any public officer engaged in politics. And therefore, that's why we are told you must shy away from that. But now, when the event of the president, at the moment, a public officer attends there, whether it is open in public baraza or it is in a boardroom discussion, that cannot be defined as a political rally. Because the definition of a political rally is well elaborated in our, what do you call, the election laws. Yes. Where you find political party colors, political party leadership, political party candidates being campaigned for, all those things. But there's a critical thing that you mentioned, which I wanted to say something about, is the declaration of Opranya. That's it. Stating that he's a member of ODM. And he still be a member and he will remain a member of ODM. Yes. And I affirm him that he will remain a member of ODM. Actually, he has not violated any constitution. Has he? No. Has he not? No. Dr. San? No. You know what? Yes. Membership of a political party does not exclude you from the executives. Anyone can be a member of political party. But what does our constitution say? You cannot hold any office of a political party. And that's why he was removed from being the deputy party leader. So let's not mix two things. One, being office bearer of a political party, yes, and being a member of political party. Anybody in this country, yes, including public officers, can be members of political party. That's it. But then
Dr. Hassan.
And confirming him that he is still, he is a member of political party, he is a member, he belongs to certain political party.
Yes.
You know what is called the ruling party? The ruling coalition party.
Yes.
The executive is the ruling party, isn't it?
That's it.
So we are structured in a manner that our executive must be backed by a political party. Even number one, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, is number one political party member of what do we call? UDA.
Yes.
So there, if he means it to tell people that he belongs to a certain political party, I don't think if he has violated any law.
But when you say it, while you're still in government, the law deems that when you assume that office, then your association, direct association with the party ceases at some point. But you're here serving in government, but you're still saying, guys, listen, I'm a member of ODM, and I'm still a member of ODM as a sitting cabinet secretary, that you should go out declaring that while you're still in office, Dr. Hassan.
I don't think if there's a problem there, my brother. Simba.
Which,
you know why?
You know why I'm saying
that
that this will touch on conflict of interest, an article that has also been well outlined in the Kenyan Constitution.
It will only come when he is doing something for the political party. Was he intending to do something or some activities for the political party, ODM political party, when he stated that statement? Or he's just informing people that he belongs to a political party and ODM is still where his home is? But if he's not doing anything for that political party at that particular time, the conflict of interest issue, was there any interest that the ODM political party,
yes,
had in his ministry?
Yes.
If there was some interest in that ministry that was supposed to be fulfilled for the ODM political party,
yes,
then that there will be a conflict of interest because he will leave his loyalty towards that, and probably he is supposed to declare that I belong to that political party and therefore I shouldn't be engaged.
That's it.
In anything to do with that political party's affairs.
That's it.
But if he's just declaring, you know, conflict of interest is well defined as well. For us, we mix a lot of things in terms of when we want to know exactly what is conflict of interest.
And I'm sorry to cut you short, Dr. Hassan, because then this is what it states. That if I today, like you, Dr. Hassan, if you're a sitting cabinet secretary and you come in and declare that indeed you belong to a particular party, what it says, that it requires public officers to exercise their functions impartially and without favor, and it continues that indeed if a sitting CS declares that it belongs to a certain political party while still sitting in office, it is deemed that its functions will favor the majority side of that political party. Is that not what it is? And that's why guys are saying, well, so is that no conflict of interest?
Let me again clear it a bit.
Yes.
You know, when he said he belongs to ODM, and he says he still remains a member of ODM party, was he at the ODM headquarters?
No.
The party's headquarters?
No.
What circumstances has led to for him to declare that?
Went to a television interview as a cabinet secretary for cooperatives and was asked that question.
Yes, is he a member of a political party? Definitely a cabinet secretary who is a member of any political party will still say he is a member of political party.
Yes.
He cannot say he is not, and his documentations shows that he is actually indeed a member of a certain political party. If he lies there, the issue of integrity will come. And therefore, if it was not an issue related to the political party, and this was a cross examination or interview by a journalist in a TV, and you are asked, If you ask me which political party you belong to, definitely I'll tell you I belong to this political party, regardless of which office I hold. Therefore, at that point, I don't think if it is anything to do with conflict of interest, anything to do with looking at the interest of any political party. In any case, he remains a member of that political party. There's no way you can remove him out of that place because the Constitution doesn't remove him.
Yes.
The only thing that says is that he shouldn't be engaged in the activities of the political party, which means then he shouldn't be an official of that political party.
Yes.
Anyone who is a member does not necessarily mean he will be engaged in the activity of any political party. The political party actually has its own organs that manages its affairs. If you don't belong to that organ or the leadership of that political party, both the executive, the secretariat, and the leadership, you do not belong to either of them, then I don't think if it is an issue for a cabinet secretary to say he belongs to a certain political party. This is what the Constitution, I mean, you know, I'm looking at the Constitution. The Constitution does not bar him to declare that he belongs to a certain political party.
Yes.
He has also the right not to be any political party. He still can hold the office. So either holding an office of a political, not office, a membership of a political party, or without any political party, does not deny him to hold any public office.
That's it.
Therefore, I don't think if that one is any issue. If you have participated in the functions that the leaders of ODM party did last week in what do we call, in ODM or Orange House?
Chungwa House, yes.
Yes. Chungwa House, that would have been an issue for us. In any case, governors will have been the people who have an issue, because governors, once they are elected in the office, they are supposed to be out of the political party.
Yes.
But again, because they are politically elected.
That's it.
The law does not deny them not to be engaged in the political party's activities.
That's it. Pretty much. I'll read this sentiment from one Saboke at home, who's an ardent viewer of our TV station, and he says, could you ask Daktari what stopped Oparanya from saying, I am not, currently as it is, allowed to disclose which political party I belong to or which political party that I don't belong to? Ask me that question after 2027. I will hold it up there. And you're going to respond to that once we come to this. One man who's also been in the spotlight in this petition is House CS Aden Duale, who himself has gone out and attacked key opposition figures. In fact, he is on record naming names and declaring how the opposition should act currently as it is, especially in line, number one, with the view of Dr. Ruto's administration, and number two, in the way that he is running his docket as a CS, docket for health.
Right. First, I think for Oparanya to simply tell Kenyans that I will not want to disclose which political party I belong to until I get to 2027 will be lying to Kenyans, because we knew very well that Oparanya has been the deputy party leader for Orange Democratic Movement before he was appointed as a CS. And he has not said anywhere or declared anywhere that he does not, he no longer belongs to Orange Democratic Party. Because these days you search and you can know which party you belong to. So he does not need to lie to Kenyans or put them to a question that is not very clear. I think Oparanya did the right thing in declaring that he belongs to this political party. And that will tell us, or even guide the public, that if he belongs to ODM party, we want to see if he will be so much involved in that political party. We will be having an eye to monitor him, other than him sneaking into the political party he belongs to without Kenyans knowing. And now we will be waiting him at the corridors of Chungwa House, or Orange House, whatever they call it, so that we see whether he will be behaving partially, impartially, whether they will have impartiality, or whether he will be having integrity in terms of respecting his line of responsibility. Therefore, I think he did the right thing. There is no need of lying where there is no problem. Where there is a problem and you lie, the problem will catch up with you. So lying is not something that is meant for any leader within the country. And indeed, if a leader lies in a Western society, when a leader lies and he is found culpable of lying to the public, he actually leaves the office.
That's it.
We don't have such thing like that. We could lie, we could abuse, we could do anything, we could lose our integrity. Kenyan's leadership just continues. So if that is the case, if he lies to us, he will have more bullets coming on his side than when he says, yes, I belong there, and therefore so what? So coming to CS Duale, I think, as I earlier mentioned, whenever there is an event, because most of the CSs speak in a platform where the president is present, or where there is a big rally where the public is the many. And at that juncture, when they are talking about the government of the day,
yes,
when they are declaring that they will be backing up the president, you don't expect anyone who is a CS not to say that I'm not going to back the president in 2027. That is a way of, what do you call, survival tactics. So these cabinet secretaries who expand their conversation towards campaigns or politics,
yes,
are out of order. And as I earlier mentioned, they are not allowed to do so.
Yes. Dr. San, let me just cut you shortly. You seem to have a problem with your sound this morning. As the technicians pick it in, let me just read a sample of those comments that are coming in. We're going to go back to Daktari shortly. Then we go look at some of the comments that are coming in. Amina this morning. Daktari, if you can just take your notes this morning, because these are some of the things that I want you to respond to. Amina this morning was saying, wow, this is tough, saying, Daktari is not telling the truth. And she continues, that even indeed is saying the truth about the likes of Oparanya and one Opiyo Wandayi, the president himself should have in one way or another personally addressed some of the issues that Terry is talking about. Goes on to say, I would imagine Dr. Ruto would caution his CSs against politicking in his presence. Let me read the next one before you come back again. This is Justice Juma, thank you very much. One of our ardent guests here in the studio as well, was saying, the only problem is that the main man is happy. And so he will continue to tell them, accompany me to all these rallies, whether political or not, whether in church or not, and once we're there, I want you to drum up support for me. Finally, Dr. San, I've got one from Mweni this morning was saying, why can't Dr. Hassan say the main problem is that these CSs are all political appointments. Their work in those offices is purely political.
Yeah, I mean, Kenyans can say anything. Our friends there have put up things very clearly. Where the problem is, we know. If it is the boss who is not saying we shouldn't be politicking, let's tell me what you need to tell me. And that has not been the tradition of Kenyans in terms of when you find the big man in a rally, you must always beat drums for him.
Yes.
And this has been the tradition, and you cannot change. These are called the loyalty game, where you must be very loyal you must be seen to be very loyal to the president, and in favor of either maintaining your position or in favor of being given an opportunity in the second round.
Yes.
So some of these actions can be defined as what do we call a situation where someone have no other option other than doing it, compromised. So I totally agree with them. Then why is the president not telling them that they should campaign? They shouldn't be engaged in politics in any of my events. But again, the definition of politics comes into place. You know, it is good to understand this thing. The president will tell you, it's not politics. I've come to church. People can talk whatever they want, but is this a political rally? No. So every individual, whatever he says, he carries his cross.
That's it.
So I think we may be politicizing everything. We may think that every event is a political event, but I don't think it is any political event at the moment, other than the events that are related to the by-elections. So if there are any events that are related to the by-elections and we see the Cabinet Secretaries or any government official
yes.
is involved in that campaign, then we define that as campaign trade.
That's it.
But
yes.
Events,
Dr. San, yes. Again, I gotta give you this as well.
Yes.
And this is a couple of guys who are also looking at your presentation this morning, and they're saying, just on that area for what a political event is, I've got this one, and you gotta read and you gotta hear it. This is from James. I can't tell his account. James, thank you very much. He's saying that he's watching from Kisumu, and this is what he's saying. Look, a political event, and that's what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell Dr. Hassan that a political event is an event, whether in church, whether in school, whether at home, that has been organized and has pulled state officials together? Goes on to say that is a political event. Dr. Hassan.
No, I don't agree with that definition. Political events are defined, and he should refer to his encyclopedia and know how political events are defined.
Yes.
Because a political event is any gathering, meeting or rally or function whose main purpose is to promote or oppose a political party, political cause or candidate for public office.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot define the way you want it. That's how it is defined. So if we are not seeing all those key issues that I just mentioned, is it a political gathering? Is it, is it, does it promote or oppose a political party, political causes, or any candidate, as I mentioned earlier on?
Yes.
I mean, we cannot just imagine, give an imaginative definition and claim, I understand Kenyans, we have, everything of ours is politics. I agree. Even in our social medias, when you look at it very keenly, you'll find majority of Kenyans defining everything as politics. But the politics must be towards a political party.
Yes.
The purpose must be either opposing or on a political party or a candidate,
yes,
as we mentioned earlier on. So if we don't see those, it will be still in a gray area.
That's it.
Where people speak, public officers speak, and that's the element of, you remember the element that the law allows the Cabinet Secretary to be involved in political party, meaning they don't just sit in the offices. They may come to functions like this and sometimes speak out what they are doing.
Yes.
And it could be defined as leaning towards certain political interest.
Yes.
And therefore, as much as we may want to define it that way, I think proper definition of this goes that way, and we must also, I'm not saying that the Cabinet Secretaries who are engaged in verbal political activities are dealing with politics. No, I'm not saying that. Probably they are, they are riding on the fact that they may be engaged slightly on some political issues. But again, where the master is, of course, the servants will always speak, massaging and making sure that the master is happy.
That's it.
For the purposes of better gain or even recommendation. That's why even an employee, an ordinary employee, whenever he is asked to do some presentation or he wants to do his job, he will do it to the perfect, so that when you will do the job much better when your boss is there, because you think that you will be promoted, he will spot talent you and promote you.
Yes.
Give you a different position, ABCD, or even add some money for you. So these are normal in any situation where employer and employee usually relates to. So their relationship is always, the employer is always being praised.
That's it.
For what they do. But I think let's wait until we see the cabinet secretaries fully engaged in any political activity.
That's it. All right. I've got Ms. Bolo, and I want you to take a minute to respond to this. She was supposed to join us this morning. Looks as if she did make it out of the house. Ms. Bolo, we hope that you're safe. And this side is saying, I agree with Dr. Hassan. This is what we get when we appoint politicians and not technocrats. All right? The issue was prominent when Raphael Tuju, who was the Jubilee Secretary General, was appointed as a CAS without portfolio. Goes on to say, my worry, however, is that if the court side with the LSK and grant them their ask, we have seen a precedent that has been set where the president does not respect court orders. So it's nothing, that's what she's saying.
Absolutely. I think I totally agree with her. Thank you. We are hoping that she will join us next time.
That's it, that's it.
And for example, let me, you know, it's good for us to be very sincere sometimes on what we define. If you appoint a politician, someone who from childhood up to date, from the time he completed his high school, he joined politics, he does not understand how executive works. And therefore, he will always think that the same game that he was doing when he was a politician is the same that is done when you see the president, the cabinet secretary. But, for example, let me clear this, because it's good to clear, because a colleague who said that perhaps a political rally or a political activities are defined differently. Is example of political events that must be looked into. You know, that's why I was saying you go to court, you may find no justification for your complaints or what you are taking. So, for example, campaign rallies or caravan tours. Where do we define that? These are campaign rallies. These are for people who are chasing after. Or party fundraisers,
yes,
organized by politicians.
That's it.
Or party nominations or endorsements. Public Thanksgiving or prayer day held by political leaders for political mobilization, or political party conferences or manifestos launch. Now, we want to wait for these cabinet secretaries who are in ODM, the 20th anniversary for ODM. That is where we will time them. If they go there, then we know they have now engaged fully in political party events. But if they don't do so, all these side shows, they can always get away with it.
That's it.
But as you mentioned, definitely the problem is because the kind of people we are putting there themselves are defined as politicians. So if you are already nurtured in an environment of politics, then we don't expect you to change much when you are given an executive job or a public office.
That's quite a punch this morning from our Dr. San. And he's telling you this morning, you need to relook your definition of a political event. That's all this that probably the LSK is presenting might not really be a political event as envisioned in the Constitution of Kenya. What do you think? I've got a couple of your sentiments this morning. I gotta read this one because I know if I don't read it, then it's gonna fight me this morning. It told me this morning it's gonna watch and contribute. This is one Omondi. Omondi, thank you very much for watching us this morning. He's saying, well, I agree with Dr. Hassan that the Constitution is also not clear. That's what he's saying this morning. When he says you can participate in some politics, the CSs are guided, and they will say that we are participating in some politics. I like is the definition of what a political event is. Thank you this morning, Omondi. I had to read that because I know if I won't read it, then after this, you and I were going to fight immediately after this show. So thank you very much for being a part and parcel of this show. Dr. Sam, thank you very much.
Very much.
All right. Guess what? We step out. The rest of the programming at Lookup TV continues. We are online at Lookup TV across all your social media platforms. I do have a couple of contributions here that I didn't get to read. Guess what? I'll call him next time again. Probably Miss Bolo will be right here in the studio so that we present a proper debate for your viewership this morning. Good morning and goodbye.